I'm no alcoholic, but I am addicted to one thing: Gacha games. And ever since Disgaea RPG Global shut down, I have been pounding the metaphorical bottle of terrible, smutty waifu collectors. But that ends today. I'm on my road to recovery, and the game that's going to help me get there is the newly released Monster Never Cry by Boltray Games. Not Boltray Games. We hate them. I started playing MNC. Yeah, I abbreviate the title. Before I knew I actually wanted to make a video on it. And getting into this game, I realized just how much potential it has. So today, I'll be reviewing Monster Never Cry, and we're going to be talking about everything from the gameplay, summoning rates, art direction, and more to determine if Monster Never Cry is worth playing. You start the game and are immediately bombarded with lore and text, which is fine if you're a story kind of player, but personally, I don't really care. Normally, there would be at least 1 or 2 battles going on in the background so you can get a feel of the gameplay while they explain some lore, and maybe this is why they didn't do that, but once you get past the intro, this game seems like it's one of those idle cash simulators. You upgrade some rooms and they passively generate coins, but then the game switches up and shows you a real battle, and you start to get a feel for what the real game is actually like. And at this point, a lot of the game opens up. As you play, you'll evolve your spider girl thing, and this acts as a frame of reference for how to progress. The main campaign is the combat tab, where you fight waves of enemies and progress through the map, and then we finally learn about the gacha. Before I started gathering footage and rerolling for this video, I played through the campaign a bit and did a few pulls, and the rates seem pretty high. It's a 6% rate to pull an Epic Plus unit, and they also give out a lot of free-to-play summoning materials. And it's also at this point that the game gives you enough freedom and materials for you to start rerolling your account. So I play a bit further into the campaign and redeem all the codes they give us, and we can start summoning. We get pretty shafted on our first reroll in terms of top tier units, but we did get a lot of Epic Plus tiers, which is a good sign for free to play. And we got a shiny character, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an alternate color and more rare version of a character, and it has slightly better stats than the normal one. I started resetting a bunch and eventually get to a point where I hop on an emulator so I can open multiple instances and reroll at the same time. In the background, we sped up footage of what the reroll process looks like. I got pretty fast at doing it, but in total it still takes about 20 minutes per roll. And while we're rolling, I'll quickly explain what it is that we're looking for. Every character in this game has a faction that it falls into, and within the Epic Plus category, the 2 best and rarest factions are Abyssal and Draconic. So basically, the characters that I'm looking to get are any of the good Abyssal or Draconic characters. In particular though, I have my eye on either a shiny version of Coronis, because she looks cool, or Zenobia, because look at her, I want her to step on me. But after about 50 or so resets, I get to a point where I'd just be happy pulling any of the top tier units. And then, just as I was about to go to bed on my second full day of non-stop rerolls, this happens. Let's fucking go! Oh my god, that was so unexpected. I was starting to doubt if it was even possible to pull, like, these top tier characters, the Draconic faction characters. They're so hard to pull. It's been, I want to say it's been like close to 400 rerolls. Maybe 200, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I think definitely around 200 though is fucking crazy. I finally pulled the certified baddest bitch in the game. God fucking yo. We finally get our most wanted top tier character of Zenobia. And in the time I spent summoning and watching videos of this game, I feel like I have a good understanding of not only the summoning rates, but also acquiring characters as a whole, because as it turns out, rerolling your account might not even be necessary at all. But we'll talk more about that later, because now that I have a decent team, we can progress and see what else this game has to offer. I found that mobile gacha games tend to not only lock you in a tutorial, but also bombard new players with literally every game mode it has right off the bat to keep them playing for as long as possible. So going through this game's tutorial, I was actually pretty relieved to see not only the freedom to skip basically everything, but also content is slowly released to the player as they level up. You might think that locking game modes behind level is worse than just having them all be available from the start, but in my experience, it's way better to let the player explore each game mode for themselves before teaching them a new thing. And speaking of that, before we actually get onto the game modes, I want to quickly mention another really important way that Monster Never Cry keeps its players coming back, and that is the abundance of beginner quests and daily rewards for new players to cash out on. Starting the game, you're met with a page called the Path of Conquest, which includes 7 days worth of quests that unlock each day, and reward the player with some really nice stuff. As you progress, you receive better and better rewards, and also these golden hexagrams, which are used as a summoning material for this Ebony Raven Draw, which gives you the really strong character Coronis, without even having to spend any actual in-game currency. But if that wasn't enough for you, this game gives you an additional 8-day login bonus completely for free that includes not just a really good support character, but a shiny, really good support character. So without summoning in this game once, you have access to a high-tier DPS and a high-tier support character. And the last thing I'll mention is that just a little bonus for 409 days, you get a multi-pull every day you log in. For 409 days. That's a total of 4,096 summons just for logging in. But I mean, it's alright, I guess. But finally, going back to the topic of game modes, there are a lot. Of course, we have the big three of the mobile game modes, the PvP arena, tower climb, and board game thing. The Supreme Throne is the arena where you fight other players' teams and collect daily rewards. There are 2 more of these arena-type battles for the top-tier players with insane teams. I mean, seriously, it's only been like 2 weeks since this game came out. The Mirror Abyss is the tower climb where you fight teams of enemies and collect daily rewards for leveling up your characters. And Destiny Ocean is where you roll dice to advance on a game board and collect rewards. And other than those, you have the usual guild system where you can join or create a guild and battle against a daily boss for rewards. There's a tab called the Dimensional Trial Space, which gives you game modes that alternate throughout the week. The Wonderland Fishery is a nice little fishing minigame where you can catch fish that will increase your stats. And I'll be honest, after playing this game mode, it might be the best minigame I've ever played in a gacha. I mean, just look at this, I even got a Devil Fruit. And the Maze of Fate isn't actually a maze at all. Basically, you roll some dice and enemies move towards the player, stacking debuffs depending on where they land, and then you fight them. This game mode seems to be a really easy way to farm gems. And the last one I want to talk about is the Divine Descent. This is a server-wide game mode where everyone on the server works together to deal damage to a boss and claim rewards. Certain server damage milestones also grant you rewards, and your personal damage contributions give you rewards. And now you might be thinking, Tetsyumi, that's freaking sweet and all, but these game modes are too darn hard. How the heck am I supposed to acquire and upgrade my characters? And to you, viewer, I say, do you actually talk like that? But now I can finally explain what I meant before when I said rerolling your account might not even be necessary. I already explained how the beginner logins gives you 2 really good characters, but that's not even what I'm referring to. Just by consistently playing the game and unlocking all the shops, you have the ability to save up different currencies to flat out buy any of the top tier characters you want. And I don't mean with real money either. This can all be achieved completely free to play. Firstly, we should talk about the gachas. There are 3 ways to acquire characters through summoning: the Gem Summon, the Treasure Hunt, and the Star Soul Summon. I should also mention that there are 2 more summons which I won't be talking about: the Evo Soul Summons, which are basically summoning for pets that help your team, and the Pack Summons, which are a weekly summon where you can choose the character you want to summon on, and they have like slightly increased rates. In the Gem Summon, just from playing for 1 week, I've accumulated almost 100 summons, which, to be fair, is probably inflated a bit by my account being new. However, you do gain a lot of coins and gems just by playing. For some more context while I'm editing this, my account's about 2 months old now, and I have almost 500 summons, and that's without me claiming any of my rewards or quests or anything like that. The Treasure Hunt summons use these scrolls as currency, which you mainly get from daily challenges, or you can buy them from the shops. For the most part, you only get egg shards and equipment from these, but you have a chance of getting a full character egg from the Forbidden tab of this summon. And finally, the Star Soul summons are possibly the most important and use the hardest currency to get, which are Devil Cores, which you mainly get from the shops. These summons are easily the best because you can choose which faction of character you want to summon for. You can also obtain an item called a Clone Doll, which is really helpful for ascending characters. But nah, we ain't done, because besides summoning, you can get characters from like half of the shops in this game. For instance, if you did summon and have a bunch of characters you don't need, you can break them down into Evo Gems and use them in the Evo Gem shop to buy other characters. This one though is a bit more of a long-term purchase depending on how frequently you summon. I'm gonna speedrun these next ones because there are actually too many shops to fully explain. There's a Rebel shop using coins you get from the guild boss. The Arena shop is self-explanatory. Clash shop using currency you get from one of the other PvP game modes. Same with the Throne shop, and also the Archdemon shop. Evo Soul shop uses the currencies you get from the Evo Soul summons. Void shop uses Void Stones that you get from the board game thing. And finally, there's a Craft shop using Alchemy Cores which you get from crafting items. There's also a game mode called the Memory Casket where you get to use a trial version of a character and fight increasingly hard battles. These fights get really hard as you progress, but the end reward is to get a copy of that trial character. So yeah, I suppose there's a few ways to get more characters. I'm not done. There's also a tab called Yggdrasil, which I don't know how to say, where you infuse magic or money, whichever you have, into a tree that gives you eggs, and then you can hatch those eggs in the hatchery that gives you characters. Now I'm done. If you put decent daily time into this game, you can absolutely acquire some amazing characters being completely free to play, and at worst, and I really mean the complete bare minimum, you get 1 summon a day from the daily challenges, and that's not including buying the daily summon from the shop that's completely free, or things like the Gacha Frenzy where you get 400 something free summons. Also, I thought this would be funny to include, but this is how many egg shards I had after 1 week. Look how many characters I get from this. And now that you have your characters, we can finally move on to how to make your team stronger. It goes without saying that you can upgrade your characters, put gear on them, and ascend them to a higher stat, but you can also get passive stat bonuses from things like the Throne Room. As you acquire new characters, you get Soul Stones, which are used to upgrade the throne and give yourself more stats. There's also a similar feature in the guilds called the Fate Reversal, where you can select a faction and upgrade select stats using guild coins. But that's everything I'll talk about for the main gameplay loop. So the last thing I wanted to mention before we end this review section is the community support this game has, and if this game is likely to continue on for a long time. Currently this game is still very new, only about 3 months at the time of uploading this video. But even with how recent it is, the community support and growth has been kinda insane. One of the first pop-ups when you enter the game is to join the Discord for some free rewards, and this has seemingly worked out really well for them because the Discord has about 60,000 members already. And naturally with that, there's a lot of helpful members of the community that have made tier lists and guides that the mods display readily for new players. But not only that, the developers have started hosting a Q&A session on the Discord to talk to the players. Currently they're on their 9th round of questions, and I'll be honest, not all questions are bangers. However, this is a really good thing to do with the community as a dialogue. And if you don't want to use the Discord to answer some questions, they've also posted a player survey right in the game, which has some pretty detailed questions that really make it seem like they care about this game's future. So far I've been pretty positive in this review, and I think it's been mainly justified, but it wouldn't be right to not mention some of the things that are a turnoff for some players, and let you decide for yourself. First off is a sort of controversy that this game was involved in. For most people it's not a big deal, but I'll explain it anyway. Monster Never Cry shares a lot of similar UI functions as another game, Pixel Heroes Tales of Edmund, and looking at the games side by side, you can see they have basically identical main areas, unit display, and upgrading. And some people online were getting mad that either game was ripping off the other, and this is where people were having a problem with originality. What Monster Never Cry and Pixel Heroes did is most likely purchase some sort of development kit for the foundation of a mobile game, and this is what they used to code the rest of the game around. This is why a lot of UI elements are similar, but the gameplay is still very different for both games. This isn't an uncommon strategy for smaller game developers, as building a game from the ground up is much more costly in the long run, but some people get mad and think companies only do this as a cash grab to make a quick game. Personally, I don't believe Boltray Games is trying to do that with Monster Never Cry, but I figured I should let you know in case you don't agree. Another thing I want to mention is monetization. It's an unfortunate inevitability with mobile games these days that the company will want to monetize their game and make money off of it, naturally. So far, Monster Never Cry has been good with its monetization tactics. When you log into the game, you get a pop-up for a daily reward and an offer to spend money for a better reward, but for the most part, that's the only predatory tactic Boltray uses. The annoying monetization tactic is mainly used in character skins. Besides shiny character skins, when a character gets released or a special event happens, some characters get an additional skin that you can only obtain through buying, and they're not cheap. This has raised a bit of a problem in the community, because supposedly there is a skin shop in the game where you can use skin tickets to buy skins without spending money. However, this shop has rarely been updated at all, and I could be wrong, but I believe there's no current way to actually obtain the skin tickets to even get skins anyway. Okay, so apparently I was wrong about this. You can obtain skin tickets in the game, you just have to buy them, which is stupid to me because you have to buy the character skins anyway, so why would you not just buy the skin instead of the skin ticket? In my opinion, you should be able to obtain the skin tickets free to play as maybe like a special event kind of thing, but then if you're gonna actually just spend money, just buy the character skin straight up. And the last thing I'll mention is not actually a critique of the game itself, rather the genre of game as a whole. Monster Never Cry does have a lot of features and game modes to play, however, the core of the game is still an AFK style game, which means the battles are hands-off, and there are times where you'll have to not play the game, and instead wait and farm resources in order to progress your account. But you probably already knew that if you were considering downloading the game for yourself anyway. And without further ado, doing my best to stay completely unbiased, I would put this game in the if you want category. Personally, I love this game so far, and I'm really excited to see how far it can go, but I also realize this game won't be for everyone. Progression as a free-to-play player is slow in the beginning, and the gameplay is a bit too hands-off at times, but everything from the monster design, upgrading, game modes, and especially the dev communication makes me believe that Boltray is trying to make this game stick around, and I want to be there for it. And with that, that's all from me. If you like this video and want to see more like it, then let me know by liking, commenting, or subscribe, and check out some of the other content I make on my channel. But that's all from me. Peace.